Happy Tuesday, everyone. I wanted to jump on here and I wanted to talk about how to build a career around your life, whether you are a senior individual contributor, whether you're a director, a VP, and you are feeling stressed. And your belief is that you need to sacrifice your life in order to build a career that helps you make the compensation that you want to make, that helps you achieve that growth. The reason I wanted to hop on here and share this is because I see this all the time. And now it is summer and it's beautiful outside. And usually during the summer, that's where the family get togethers are, the barbecues, the trips, the vacation. But if you are in a role that doesn't bring you joy and that is stressing you out, then how are you going to enjoy your time with your family, be able to disconnect? Now, who am I to talk about this? I was that person. I was that person who thought that I had to work hard and I had to sacrifice my life in order to climb up the ladder and in order to hit that $200,000 compensation and beyond. And what that resulted is I ended up with pancreatitis. I was in the hospital for quite some time and I lost half of my pancreas because I burnt myself out. And so I understand what that feels like and how terrible it is, and how you feel like you have to put in these long hours, that you have to stay in late. I once worked with a VP who would share with me how, she would be working nonstop and to the point where she was barely sleeping and traveling and just constantly in her hotel room. If you are that person, give me a like. I'd love to know if you can identify with this because it is a very dangerous place to be. And I actually have a photo of myself, in the hospital as I was going through this. And I'm just going to share this here because I just want you guys to see how real and scary that is when you reach that point. So, just to show you all, this was me in 2016 in the hospital because I got pancreatitis after working myself to that point. I had a boss who was a micromanager. He was very difficult to deal with, and he basically threatened to fire me if I didn't relocate. I was pulling all-nighters in order to push out product releases, and despite retaining a $3 million client, my boss, it just was never enough. There was always something terrible. And my nervous system, because of all of that, shut down. I actually remember the weekend before I had to give him my decision in terms of whether I agreed to relocate or not, which was dependent on whether he was going to keep me or fire me. I was bent over in pain. I had to call the ambulance and I was taken to the hospital. And shortly, they said to me that I had a 6 centimeter cyst. And the funny thing was, I didn't drink. I was in top shape, as you can see. Yet, I had pancreatitis because of the amount of stress that I went through. And this is why I am very passionate about, talking about this, because I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. There are things that happen to your body that you can't reverse. Luckily, I was able to get a surgery done. However, to this day, I suffer from the repercussions of this, you know? So it's very important to not put up with this in the workplace. It's very important to turn things around because you won't get your body back, you won't get the time back. And you know, it impacts your loved ones when you're going through this. So, having said that, I wanted to give you a roadmap in terms of how to overcome this. One of my clients reached out to me in 2023 because she was getting anxiety attacks, panic attacks because of the workload. And it wasn't just the workload, it was lack of alignment. She did not feel that the work was bringing her joy. And at the same time, she was in this constant state of anxiety. She was grocery shopping and she would still think about her job. And that was causing her a lot of stress. So, her and I decided to work together. And the first thing that we realized after talking is that she did not love the work that she was doing. She did not believe in the company's direction. Here's the thing. Whenever you're feeling signs of lack of confidence, that is not always because you're not competent in the work that you do. In fact, 99.9% of the time, I see clients who don't feel confident as a result of misalignment. So lack of confidence can come from misalignment. What do we mean by misalignment? What does confidence even mean? What is the definition? The definition of confidence. Who can tell me what the definition of confidence? So, let me show you guys what the definition of confidence is. So, confidence is a feeling of trust, reliance, or belief in the reliability or abilities of someone or something. Note what it says: feeling of trust, reliance, or belief in the reliability or abilities of someone or something. So, when you are in an environment that you do not trust, whether you don't trust your boss, you don't trust your company decision making, right? That is where the lack of confidence can come in. But sometimes we confuse that feeling of lack of confidence and think that it is because of us. So we start self-blaming ourselves versus understanding that there may be something external that's causing that lack of confidence. And because you can't explain it or because you can't change it, you know that when it comes to change, we can only change ourselves and not necessarily other people, right? And so when you are trapped in an environment that doesn't align with the way you think, doesn't align with your way of working, doesn't align with your beliefs, you feel helpless because you can't change it. And so what do? You start blaming yourself. And then you start confusing the fact that you can get what you want with your lack of competence. So when my client and I figured that out, because she was starting to question, should I even continue to be a product leader? Should I even continue being in the profession that I'm in? That's how bad the environment started creating that lack of confidence. And so when her and I talked and we looked at all of the evidence, we looked at all of her accomplishments, we started having conversations, we were able to pinpoint that she actually was not happy with that environment and it was a lack of fit. And so we worked together to turn that around. First of all, we figured out, that she does not like being in chaotic startups. We figured out that she wants to be in a more innovative organization that gives her that space to own decisions, that she didn't want to be like playing the role of a project manager where she's managing timelines instead of actually using what she's gifted at, which is her creativity and being able to think outside of the box and come up with features for the product. So once we figured out what she enjoys doing and how that environment was not giving her that, we were able to create a plan to get her out of there. Now, a lot of you may think, well, I know that I shouldn't be there and I can just go on ChatGPT and I can just, search for jobs and do all of that. And of course you can, but if you could, you wouldn't be listening to this. You wouldn't be listening to this and thinking, I want to change my situation. If you could change your situation on your own, then you would have changed it a long time ago because you're not lazy. But the problem is that the reason a lot of people can't make that change on their own is one, you're busy, you come back from work, you already carry that anxiety. The last thing you want to do is think about how you can leave your role and take those steps, like search for a job and do all of the things, right? My client knew better. She knew that if it was left up to her, she would never make that change. She would never look for another role. She didn't even know what else to do. She needed someone to talk to and bounce ideas off of to validate if the decision that she's making is the right decision, because she didn't want to just, land another role and feel that same anxiety. She wanted to get to the bottom of the root cause of why she was feeling that way. And then she wanted to ensure that the role that she's targeting is the right role for her, that's not going to cause her the same anxiety that she's going through. So once we got clear on that, then we built a brand that attracted so many better opportunities. So I want you to imagine this for a second. You are in a state of anxiety and you're repeating this day in and day out. You come back from work, you're anxious, maybe you have kids around you and you're in a bad mood. And how are those kids feeling when you're always in a bad mood? How's your significant other feeling when you're always in a bad mood, low energy, and you just want to lie down in bed because you're so depleted from work? And imagine going through that for another week, another month, another year. How would that affect the way you're feeling, your energy, your health? What impact would that create on you? For me, that bottled up misalignment, I kept ignoring it. I kept pushing through, and it caused me pancreatitis and led to me losing half of my pancreas. And that's what happens when we just keep, postponing and postponing and postponing when we're in a bad situation. So my client did the wise thing. Number one, she got a therapist. The therapist was good at helping her cope with her current situation, but the therapist was not able to get her out of there, which is the root cause of what she's feeling. You can be in therapy for years if you don't solve the root cause of the issue. Therapy is good. I'm not saying, don't go to therapy. My client did the wise thing by getting a therapist. But therapy only helps you cope. It doesn't remove the root cause, which is she needed a different environment and a better role. So I wanted to see this. Day 0, she came to me very stressed, sharing with me how she was having these panic attacks. And day 30, she was already excited because she finally had clarity in terms of why she was feeling the way she was feeling. And day 60, she started getting other opportunities. So imagine 60 days from today, you could be interviewing with companies that get you excited and you feel like there is hope for you. And imagine in 3 months or 4 months, You've already signed an offer at a company with the right culture, with a boss who actually supports you versus sabotages your effort at the organization, constantly clashes with you, or doesn't recognize you. So that is the power of taking action. Now, I want to show you how this client's life changed. So, when I talk about building a career around your life versus trying to shove your life in, that box that your career has left you, my client had hobbies. She didn't just want to work. She didn't just want to go and, spend all day at work and be exhausted on weekends. She's actually a musician and she plays at concerts. So you can see this is a photo of her playing, you know? And that's what you want. You don't want to, not have a life, because why do we even work? We don't work to just, show up at work. We work so that we can have a better life, so that we can have the compensation that allows us to have a great quality of life, so that we can take our kids to the best schools and get the best education, so that we can celebrate our kids' birthday parties, not say to our kids, I'm sorry, I can't go and pick you up from soccer, or I can't, go to your birthday party, and just lose all those years not being able to be around our loved ones. Look, I know there's a lot of noise out there in terms of, oh, the market is bad, and, this is the best that you can do, and you should be grateful. Don't know if you know about the crab bucket theory. When you're in a bucket full of crabs and you try to get out, they don't want you to get out. They pull you down with them, because if you get out, it makes them look bad. And so if you are around people who are saying all of this to you, then maybe you should get new friends. I'm serious. There are people who are making high compensation. Why them and not you? You are you are a high achiever, you're a high performer. Quit telling yourself all this nonsense that you can't do this and you can't do that. I have clients who achieve great results all the time because they believe in themselves. They take a chance. They take that leap of faith. And you know what? I took that leap of faith, because I'll tell you what, entrepreneurship is the hardest job out there. There is absolutely no guarantee that you would succeed in entrepreneurship. There is absolutely no guarantee that when you create content that anyone would read it. But when I got into entrepreneurship, which is my career and my job, I didn't think, oh, well, what if I fail? Well, what if I don't fail? What if I succeed? And that is the mindset that you want to have. Here's a shift that's going on right now in this market that I want you to pay attention to, especially if you have more than 15 years of experience. We are in an era where careers and the way that you navigate your career as a leader is more and more like an entrepreneur. You are now in a situation where you need to navigate your career like an entrepreneur, where you need to be comfortable making yourself visible, where you need to feel comfortable expanding your network and building relationships, where you need to feel comfortable selling yourself. And if you have that old mindset of, I'm going to stay at the same company for 10, 15, 20 years, and my work is going to speak for itself, and I'm not going to have to find a job, I am so sorry to break it to you, but that mindset is not going to help you. because organizations, especially with AI, are changing rapidly. They are, some of them are going to go through mergers and acquisitions. I have clients, who have been at the same company for so many years, and all of a sudden, that company went through a merger and acquisition, and the leadership changed, and they've gone through a huge layoff. And if you don't learn the skill set of how to position yourself and market yourself and how to find opportunities easily and don't have a system to do that, then you're going to be in great danger. And you don't want to wait until your company goes through a layoff in order for you to learn those skills. You need to be ready. I tell my clients, you need to have one eye open and one eye closed. You need to obviously focus and make the best out of the job that you have, but you should always be prepared in case your company goes through something, that you're not taken by surprise. And you should always have that muscle of building those relationships in the background so that you continuously generate opportunities. Because what if there is an amazing opportunity for you out there, but because you haven't put yourself out there and you haven't created options for yourself, you don't know about it. And so you just settle with whatever you have. And that's not a good place to be. Okay, so if you want to make that change, if you believe in yourself, if you are willing to create opportunities for yourself, because you're not going to lose anything. It's not like I'm saying to you, hey, quit your job, without anything lined up. I'm saying create opportunities for yourself so that you can pick and choose versus be at the mercy of any company. If you want to learn how to do that and you want to exceed the $200,000 mark, then I encourage you to book a career diagnosis with me. So, how you book the career diagnosis is very, very simple. All you need to do is you need to click on my LinkedIn profile. So just go to my profile and view it. And then when you do that, when you click on my profile and view it, there is a button that says book an appointment. Okay. So let me show you. So here, if you scroll, click on book an appointment, and it'll take you to my booking page. I obviously recommend that you watch this video and then click on book your career diagnosis. It'll only take you 2 minutes to fill this out, and it'll give me a better understanding of what you're trying to achieve, what your goals are, because I want to get that context in order to help you and design a plan. So once you do that, it's going to take you to my calendar, and then we can have a conversation. In that conversation, I'm going to share with you what is blocking you from achieving your goal, and then B, create a plan that's going to help you get there. And if it makes sense, then there's a possibility that we can work together on implementing that plan. If not, you still get that plan, you still get that clarity. A lot of people who reach out to me and book that career diagnosis, whether we work together or not, they feel excited coming out of the call because they feel that there's hope for them to solve their problem, and they know exactly what they need to do to solve it. Now, the people who are serious about achieving that goal understand that a plan on its own is not enough. You need accountability. You need someone to give you feedback on the implementation. And the amazing thing that I have is I have an amazing community of other executives that you can learn from. Because I don't know, if if you were part of an MBA program or even undergrad, you can remember that your learning didn't just come from a professor or instructor. The learning came from your peers as well. When you interact with your peers, when you collaborate with them, when you see them struggling with the same things that you're struggling with, that accelerates your learning. And that's what I love about my community is the level of support that people provide for each other, the encouragement. It really keeps you on track. It's kind of like, going to a yoga class. When you're in a yoga class and you're doing the yoga with other people, it's just a lot more fun than you being in a little room and doing it on your own, right? Okay. I would love it if you share with me what resonated with you the most in this live. Or, let me know where you're tuning from. I'm always curious to know who's watching and who's listening and what region you're in. Thank you, Mark from Rhode Island. I appreciate you listening. And if you found this useful and you would like to support my content, because as the algorithm needs signals in order to push this LinkedIn Live to someone else. It only takes 1 second to give it a like, and it's free. So I would appreciate it if you do that. It's really hard for me to know who's watching and who's listening. I don't see any faces. So it would be awesome. And it would also encourage me to create more valuable content for you. Okay. I hope you have a fabulous Tuesday, and we will talk soon.